Is return to office really about culture? Or is it quietly breaking families apart? I have heard this question from parents trying to beat the school pickup line after a 70-minute commute, from new hires who built their first year of confidence at a kitchen table, and from managers who are privately exhausted from refereeing policy exceptions. We were told that coming back together would restore connection, but connection can't be mandated. Your mind decides what feels meaningful, and when choice shrinks, energy drains. Here's what's happening inside of you. Autonomy isn't a perk. It's a biological signal that says you are safe enough to think. When that signal disappears, the mind shifts into protection mode and the brain's stress chemistry gets totally out of whack. Focus narrows, patience runs thin, and small inconveniences feel like sand in the gears. During the remote years, many of us redesigned our days around what mattered. Breakfast with a toddler, a midday walk that steadied your thoughts, for a parent without begging for permission. That wasn't indulgence, it was intelligent mind management. We learned the rhythm of a day that let our thoughts, feelings, and choices build healthier neural pathways. The problem isn't offices. I like offices. The problem is control dressed up as culture. When a rule ignores human rhythm, the subconscious mind warns us through the warning signals of anger and fatigue. Something important is being traded away. Think of your inner life as a garden. Autonomy is sunlight. Remove it, and weeds, resentment, detachment, cynicism start to spread. Add sunlight back through even small choices, and the garden recovers. Families are the soil holding those roots. When a policy pulls hours from caregiving, the cost isn't just measured in tasks completed, it's measured in the loss of autonomy and trust. I'm not making a case for chaos here. I am making a case for integrity, for workplaces that honor how the mind actually works. Culture is behavior repeated with trust, not bodies counted in chairs. They have to choose conditions where thinking thrives, meaningful choice, clear purpose, and respect for the realities of home. Today, I want to translate the tension you are feeling into an understanding you can use in a practical way. We will explore what your mind is signaling when return to office policies bite, how the brain processes lost choice as threat, the myths that keep teams stuck, and how to use the Neurocycle to turn frustration into productive energy. My goal is not to feel resentment, but to help you reconceptualize it into wise action for you, your team, and your family. In this week's episode, we will unpack the neuroscience and psychoneurobiology behind return to office rage, reveal why the conscious mind reads lost autonomy as danger, challenge the myths that keep families under pressure, and walk through the practical tools that can rebuild both culture and trust at the same time. You are curious about how your mind works. You want to grow, to understand yourself and the people you love a little better every week. That mindset alone already aligns with your brain and body's wired for love structure, as well as a key design feature of our psychoneurobiology. Learning matters to me. If that's you, follow or subscribe to these conversations and let them become a regular part of your growth routine. Each week, we unpack how to manage your thoughts, protect your peace, and build stronger relationships at work and at home. If this episode resonates, share it with someone who's trying to navigate the same pressure. The more of us who learn to manage our minds, the faster we can change how workplaces and families talk about mental health. The night before an office day, many families move through the same uneasy routine. Packing lunches, checking calendars, setting alarms, rehearsing who will cover what if traffic hits or a child wakes up sick. It's the sound of people trying to rebuild rhythm inside a schedule that no longer fits. For many, returning to the office hasn't brought back connection, it's brought back exhaustion they thought they'd been healed from. I have heard from countless people who say the same thing. I thought I was fine until Sunday night. That tension is grief. It's the mind remembering a version of life where choice existed and warning that something meaningful is being taken away. Our minds decide what feels valuable. Our brains respond with chemistry and structural changes, called neuroplasticity, to match that decision. The brain, which is like a filter, releases stress energy in response to help us push through. Over time, however, that energy hardens into irritation and resentment. Underneath the anger lives loss. The loss of rhythm, of closeness, of a day that felt like our own. I have sat with listeners who can predict the traffic by the way their jaw tightens at 6:10 a.m. I have heard from managers who leave before sunrise to beat the line at childcare check-in, then spend lunch pretending they are not worried about a fever text. And I hear from new graduates who are proud of their output until swipe-ins and desk checks reduce their wins to attendance. This is a mind that tasted integrity, alignment between values, energy, and responsibility, and now senses that it's slipping. Here's the inner sequence I see again and again. The mind evaluates meaning first. Then the brain follows with chemistry and neuroplasticity for action. When the meaning reads, "This costs my family more than it gives," the brain supplies stress energy to get you through. That stress energy often gets mislabeled as anger. Underneath it lives loss. Loss of breakfast with a toddler. Loss of a midday walk that steadied your thoughts. Loss of the quiet block where deep work actually happened. The more those losses repeat, the louder the anger becomes. People tell me a good day used to mean no fires. Now it means we sat for dinner and felt like ourselves. Partners start whisper arguing about who pays the new price of presents. Grandparents who stepped in during remote years feel sidelined again. Teenagers see a parent's eyes at 9 p.m. and ask, "Are you still there?" The schedule didn't just change. The story of the household changed. Think of your day as a filing cabinet. During remote seasons, you could slide one door closed and open the family door within seconds. By the time many of us get home, the emotional budget is spent. We show up, but we struggle to be available. We start to resent every meeting that could have been a message because our minds are tracking the invisible cost to those we love. I also hear from leaders torn between policy and people. They are measured on in-office metrics while being quietly asked to keep retention high and burnout low. They try to make exceptions, which creates new tensions. Why them and not us? In that pressure, empathy thins. Culture starts to feel like a scoreboard rather than a shared life. Remote work revealed what truly sustains people: choice. In this context, anger is information, a signal for change. People can endure a commute. Losing choice, however, drains hope. If any of this sounds like you're not imagining this. Your experience is valid because the mind is the meaning maker, and it's flagging a mismatch. When the meaning changes, the chemistry and neuroplasticity follow. That's how the brain works for us, not against us. And when we ignore that signal, the body cumulatively carries the load. Shallow breathing on the platform, jaw tension in the elevator, snapped replies at 4:37 p.m. None of this makes you a bad parent, partner, or colleague. It makes you human. Notice the tiny places where integrity still sneaks in. A 10-minute walk after lunch, a boundary around dinner, the choice to turn a camera off so you can actually listen. These are not trivial gestures. They are proof that agency hasn't left you. The emotional experience of return to office rage is your mind asking for optional design involving choice, not drama. In the next section, I will open the hood on what the brain is doing when the mind reads lost autonomy as danger, and why even small returns of choice can restore energy fast. We have named the feeling. Now let's open the hood and see what's happening inside you when return to office removes choice. This is where the mind and brain meet real life. Your mind is the driver. It thinks, feels, and chooses. Your brain is the physical structure that acts like a filter for the mind, carrying out those choices with electrical and chemical activity. When your mind decides, this setup costs more than it gives, your mind immediately expresses that decision in your brain and body. You might notice jaw tension before the commute, a shorter fuse around small delays, or that drained, flat feeling by mid-afternoon. That's biology doing its job, matching your internal meaning with a chemical plan for action. One of the most reliable models that explains motivation is self-determination theory. It says we function best when 3 needs are supported: autonomy, meaning I have meaningful choice; competence, I can do this well; and connection, I belong here. When any of these needs get squeezed, the mind reads less safety and the brain shifts gears. Stress chemistry rises to help you push through, focus will consequently narrow, and patience thins, and creative thinking stalls. This pattern is a predictable response when core needs are squeezed: autonomy, competence, and connection. It is how the brain follows the mind's meaning. Think of autonomy as sunlight in a garden. When you had more of it, your inner life sprouted new routines: morning time with a child, a midday walk that steadied your thoughts, a protected block where deep work actually happened. Pull the sunlight back too quickly and the leaves droop. The plant hasn't failed, it's adapting to less light. Your conscious mind does the same. It conserves energy, trims curiosity, and starts asking, how do I get through this day? There is another concept worth knowing: allostatic load. It is the wear and tear on the body and brain when stress demands keep stacking without being managed, and recovery windows get shorter. During remote seasons, many of you unknowingly lowered your load by removing commutes, eating with family, or taking short movement breaks. Those changes weren't luxuries, they were recovery. Without recalibrating recovery, your load climbed again. Your brain had adapted to a steadier rhythm, and now it's sprinting without enough oxygen. What does this look like in real life? A parent reaches the office already depleted because the morning was a maze of alarms, lunches, bus times, and traffic. A new hire starts doubting their ability, not because the work got harder, but because constant badge checks and desk counts say attendance matters more than impact. A manager spends the day negotiating exceptions, then lies awake replaying conversations because their brain never got the signal to stand down. Have you noticed how your breathing changes halfway through your commute? Or how you clench your teeth in the elevator without meaning to? Those are early warning lights. Your subconscious is sending warning signals, and your psychoneurobiology is saying, the setup isn't sustainable yet. And when you ignore those lights, you burn extra fuel all day long. When you acknowledge them, however, you can start adjusting how you move through the day so that your mind and brain are on the same team again. Let me break down what's really happening step by step, because it's simpler than it sounds. First, your conscious mind assigns meaning. Maybe it's something like, I'm losing control over my day, or home is going to pay for this. That single thought carries enormous weight. Next, your brain executes the plan your mind just gave it. It releases stress chemistry to help you keep pushing through. Then the body carries the load. You feel it as tension in your shoulders, irritability in traffic, or that heavy fatigue that hits just before dinner. Finally, your attention contracts, you stop imagining and start enduring. The brain is loyal. It's doing exactly what your mind instructed it to do. Survive the situation, not thrive in it. And that's why you can end a day feeling like you worked twice as hard and accomplished half as much. The brain has been doing what the conscious mind told it to do. It wasn't sabotaging you. You can't stay creative in an environment where your brain is constantly receiving the message from the conscious mind that it's unsafe. Creativity is a growth function. Under perceived threat, the brain reallocates energies to survival functions. That's why solving simple problems suddenly feels heavy when your day is over-controlled. The brain is loyal. It's expressing what the mind believes. Let's ground this with a quick self-check you can try tomorrow. When you wake up on an office day, scan for signals. Tight chest, clenched jaw, shallow breathing. As you commute, what's your thoughts? Are you predicting conflict, rehearsing answers, or counting losses at home? And now that you've noticed these, how can you reconceptualize these for today specifically? Not the rest of the week, just today. Before your first meeting, identify one choice you still control. For example, where you sit, or a 5-minute walk beforehand, or camera on or off, or a boundary about when you'll respond to pings. At lunch, reset your rhythm. Step outside for a few minutes, slow your breathing, or jot down what actually matters that afternoon. And on the way home, transition deliberately with a small ritual that tells your brain work mode is closing. Those tiny moves may sound small, but they change the signal that your brain is receiving. Your brain will start receiving healthy energy from the mind. Choice, however small, reintroduces sunlight to the garden, and that sunlight keeps curiosity alive. And curiosity keeps connection alive, and connection lowers the load. You might be wondering, but isn't some pressure good? Yes, absolutely. Positive pressure puts you into healthy stress, which will sharpen your focus when you also have agency. The problem here isn't effort, it's mismatch. Long stretches of control without meaningful choice tell the conscious mind, this isn't my life anymore. The brain follows that instruction faithfully, trimming patience and creativity to conserve energy. If you have felt unusually irritable lately, that's not failure, that's a conservation strategy, because the conscious mind, brain, and body have limited energy, whereas the subconscious and wise non-conscious mind have unlimited energy. Here's a note for leaders. When the environment rewards presence over impact, you unintentionally threaten all three motivation needs at once. Autonomy drops, less choice. Competence feels distorted, output does not equal value, and connection suffers, trust erodes. The fix isn't slogans about culture, it's restoring small, reliable choices people can count on. Choice is the fastest way to tell the conscious mind, you are safe enough to think here, which immediately gives you access to the powerful, wise, and all-knowing superpower of the non-conscious mind. And for those navigating family demands, you are not imagining that extra cost. When evenings become recovery from the day instead of reconnection with each other, the household pays. Give the brain a clear off-ramp. That could be a 10-minute walk after the commute, a consistent dinner boundary, or a short check-in where each person says one win and one ask. Teach the brain the day has edges again. If you like a process, we'll use the Neurocycle later to help translate the science into a daily change. For now, just remember the sequence. Meaning first, chemistry and neuroplastic changes second, behavior third. When you reclaim even a sliver of meaning, one chosen ritual, one boundary, one honest conversation, your chemistry shifts and behavior follows. So when frustration hits before a meeting or on the freeway, don't pile on with self-criticism. Call it what it is. My subconscious mind is signaling a mismatch. Then give your brain a small instruction it can obey. Slow your exhale, step outside for 90 seconds, move a meeting by 15 minutes, protect the block that actually matters. Small choices undo a surprising amount of threat. Here is the takeaway I want you to carry into the next chapter. The brain is not your enemy here. It is the messenger and amplifier of your mind. It is turning up whatever meaning your mind assigns. Change the meaning in small, consistent ways, and you get your energy back. Next, we'll tackle the myths that keep teams stuck. Beliefs about collaboration, culture, and effort that sound reasonable, but quietly inflame this mismatch. We will challenge them one by one and show you how to respond without escalating tension at work or at home. Now that we understand what is happening inside the brain, let's talk about the stories that keep this tension alive. These are the myths that quietly fuel return to office rage. Stories that sound right on paper, but drain the mind in practice. And the cost doesn't stop at work. It follows people home. Here's one I hear all the time. Collaboration only works when everyone is in the same room. It feels true because it's familiar. We see faces, we hear movement, and our brains interpret that sensory input as connection. But proximity is not collaboration. The mind needs psychological safety and purpose before it can create freely. When those are missing, people may sit side by side but feel completely alone. I have met teams that worked across continents, yet finished each week closer and more energized than those who met daily in the same building. What mattered wasn't the address, it was the trust. Neuroscience shows that when the mind senses safety and meaningful choice, it sends the energy into the physical brain and body that frees up the chemistry that fuels curiosity and flexibility. When the mind reads control as pressure, it instructs the brain to divert that energy to protection. You can hear it in tone, you can see it in people's posture, and you can feel it in the conversations that just go nowhere. Collaboration begins with safety, not with seating charts. You can test this easily. In your next meeting, instead of asking, "What are we behind on?" try this. What needs more clarity? That small shift tells the mind and the brain, you are safe enough to think here. The brain follows that cue within seconds. It is incredible how quickly energy rises when curiosity feels allowed. Another story that keeps surfacing is the idea that culture lives in a building. I understand the nostalgia. Offices hold memories. But culture isn't a wall color or a logo. It's behavior repeated with trust. If the repeated behavior is micromanage and demand, then the building simply amplifies that tension. If the behavior is clarity, follow through, and repair after mistakes, culture travels anywhere. Think of culture like train tracks. Tracks don't care which station you're near. They shape direction. When those tracks are built on trust, people follow them whether they are at home or in the office. If the direction is fear, no address will fix it. The quickest way to test the health of a culture is to remove the building and see what remains. I have also heard people say that remote work made us soft. It didn't. It made us self-aware. During the remote years, many discovered when they think best how much rest they actually need and which routines protect their families. That isn't weakness, that's wisdom. The conscious mind learned how to do this and the brain adapted to those rhythms. When those rhythms are stripped away, the body protests through fatigue and frustration. You are not less disciplined, you are better informed. Science backs this up. When we align our tasks with our natural timing, the brain conserves energy. That is why your clearest ideas may arrive on a walk or in the quiet before sunrise. Those patterns aren't accidents, they are calibration. When work ignores them, burnout follows. Another myth says presence equals commitment. It is an easy mistake because visibility feels measurable. We can count who's in the room, and that looks like loyalty. But presence without ownership is just attendance. Real commitment shows up as accountability and care, delivering what you promise and repairing what breaks. Long hours can look devoted, but leave people detached. The brain filters meaning as safety, and safety is what fuels long-term excellence. If you lead others, try this. Replace one visibility rule with an outcome rule. Instead of everyone in by 9, try by 9 we share one win and one lesson from yesterday. That swap honors choice and keeps minds engaged. You will notice people speaking with more conviction because they feel seen for substance, not presence. And then there's the myth that meetings build connection. Meetings can connect, but only when they protect attention. Long, stacked sessions tell the mind, prepare for waste, and the brain withdraws energy before the meeting even starts. The fix is focus. Keep every meeting anchored to 3 questions. What moved forward? What's blocking progress? What's next? 15 minutes, end. People walk out lighter because their minds were respected. All of this shows up beyond work too. The commute tax doesn't just steal time, it steals availability. Evenings that used to be for recovery or play become recovery from exhaustion. Parents, partners, and kids feel the absence. The mind logs it as cost, and the brain cuts patience to conserve energy. Families start negotiating survival instead of enjoying connection. If this sounds familiar, don't add guilt, add design. Protect one ritual that restores you. Maybe dinner at the same time each night, a 10-minute walk, or a quick bedtime recap of one win and one hope. Small, consistent rituals rebuild stability, and stability rebuilds trust. For leaders caught in the middle, translating policy into purpose is everything. If you have to ask people back to the office, explain why. What outcome matters? What choices remain theirs? When you connect the requirements to a purpose and preserve choice, minds relax, brains reopen, and creativity returns. And for anyone who's watched pride slowly turn into compliance, when the work that once felt meaningful now feels mechanical, remember that the mind thrives on feedback loops. When effort connects to outcome, the brain releases reward chemistry that keeps motivation steady. When those mirrors disappear, morale slips. Bring back reflection. Celebrate progress in real time. A single acknowledgement can reactivate meaning and restore momentum. So, if you take one thing from this, let it be this. The office can host connection, but it can't manufacture it. Family health and work performance rise and fall together. Pressure sharpens focus when people have agency. Without it, pressure becomes friction. Collaboration is born from trust. Culture is a promise, not a place. Commitment is about follow-through, not FaceTime. Connection is progress that feels shared. That frustration you feel isn't rebellion, it's information. It's your subconscious mind saying, this design no longer fits. Next, I'll help you turn that information into direction. How to reframe and reconceptualize frustration into fuel and rebuild the kind of culture that protects both work and home. We have mapped the feelings and the brain science. Now I want to give you a different lens. When your mind keeps protesting the way you are working, that signal isn't disloyalty, it's guidance. The reconceptualization is simple. Let the frustration point to the design problems you can change. Here's the anchor I use with the people I work with and their teams. Emotions are information. Patterns are instructions. One spike of anger says, pay attention. Repeated spikes say, redesign something. That shift from taking emotions personally to reading them functionally restores agency. your mind chooses a new meaning, your brain follows with a new network and new energy. Let me offer a picture to help. Think of your life as weather and climate. Weather is today's mood, a rough commute, a tense meeting, a sweet moment at dinner. Climate is the long arc, what your days add up to most of the time. You can't control every storm, but you can influence the climate by changing recurring conditions. Choice, rhythm, and purpose. When climate improves, storms pass faster and do less damage. So how do we move from weather to climate? Start by asking yourself sharper questions. Which moment drains you? Which moment drains you most on office days? Getting there, the first meeting, or that late afternoon slump? Now name one small choice that would change the meaning of that moment for your mind. Then pick a simple ritual that helps you switch tracks between work and home, so you don't carry one into the other. When you work this way, you are not waiting for permission. You are updating the design. And design lives in small, repeatable moves. Here's a short story. A listener wrote to me about dreading Tuesdays, the long commute, the meeting that always stretched, the quiet guilt at home. We reconceptualized the day into 3 anchors she could control. A 90-second breathing reset in the car before walking in. A 1-sentence purpose check at the start of the meeting. What will make this 30 minutes worth it? And a 10-minute walk before leaving the office to close the work loop. Within 2 weeks, her energy in the evening changed. Her family noticed first. That's the power of reconceptualization. Not pretending things are fine, but giving your mind a new instruction so the brain can stop guarding and start contributing. Leaders can use the same approach. If you are asking people to be on site, frame the purpose in a way the mind can accept. We need fast feedback on this launch, or we are rebuilding trust after a tough quarter. Then match the ask with real choices people still own. Arrival windows, focus blocks, camera norms, or where work gets done after a certain hour. When people hear a purpose and feel a choice, their minds read safety and their brains release the chemistry that supports collaboration. Another practical reframe is to separate presence from impact in your own thinking. What did I move forward? Who did I help? What did I learn? When the conscious mind tracks those signals, the non-conscious mind rewards them and the brain and body experience them. You will feel it as a steadier energy and less resentment about the parts of the week you didn't control. If your household is carrying the commute tax, bring the reconceptualization home. Identify one tiny ritual that tells everyone, we matter here. That might be eating at the table 3 nights a week, a 5-minute check-in after dinner, or a shared playlist on the drive to practice. Rituals are how families build climate. When the climate is strong, people bend without breaking. I also want to reframe the way you speak to yourself on hard days. Many of you tell me, I should be used to this by now, or other people manage. That self-talk drains energy. Try this instead. My mind is signaling a mismatch. I am going to adjust one part of the design today. That type of language keeps dignity intact while directing action. If meetings can feel heavy, don't jump straight to cancellation. Reframe or reconceptualize the unit of connection. Short huddles can be powerful when they protect attention and end with action. Ask 3 questions only. What moved forward? What is blocking progress? What is next? 15 minutes end. When the brain expects usefulness, it brings energy. Keep 2 reminders close this week. 1. Emotions are data. And when the same emotion repeats, it's design feedback. Number 2. The office can host connection. Purpose and choice are what create it. Both ideas put you back in the driver's seat. You can influence climate even when you can't stop every storm. Let's make this practical. At lunch on any office day, run a 1-minute mental audit. First, check meaning. What is your conscious mind telling you about this afternoon? If it sounds like cost, choose one action that turns it into investment. Second, check energy. Where is your body holding the tension? Soften your jaw, lengthen your exhale to send the safe to think signal. Third, check your focus. Decide on 3 outcomes that would make the rest of the day feel worthwhile. Write them down and protect them. That's a reconceptualization in action. Mind first, then brain, then behavior. And as you practice this, you will notice a quiet change. The same schedule starts to feel less punishing because the meaning changed. When meaning changes, your brain stops hoarding energy and starts sharing it with the parts of you that create, connect, and care. And that's how people regain momentum without waiting for a policy. If you lead others, try offering reconceptualizations during your one-on-ones. Ask, where does the week drain you the most? Then design micro choices together. Meeting purpose statements, protected focus blocks, team demo hours that replace long status updates. When you turn frustration into design, you model healthy culture, one that protects family life instead of extracting from it. Before we move on, I want to say this clearly. The goal is to translate anger into a plan. Anger says, protect what matters. The reconceptualization says, here's how. When you treat emotion as a guidance, you stop fighting yourself and start solving for the conditions you need. That's maturity. That's mind management. Next, I'll share a simple tool you can use immediately. The 5-step process I rely on to turn emotional signals into small, consistent actions throughout the day. It's simple, it's repeatable, and it works in 90-second slices throughout your day. Okay, using the Neurocycle. So the micro tool, using the Neurocycle to rebuilding agency Neurocycle prescription. So I'm going to say it as another heading. I'm just changing that heading around. I forgot to edit it in here. I edited all the others. The Neurocycle prescription to rebuild agency. Now that you understand the warning signals from the subconscious mind, let's turn it into something practical. This is where we start using the Neurocycle, the scientific 5-step formula I rely on to translate what your mind is saying into real daily change. It is simple, repeatable, and takes less than 2 minutes when you get the rhythm right. I use this tool and I teach it to leaders, parents, students, my private clients who feel stuck in constant stress or toxic stress. It helps you move from reaction to redesign. Here's how to do it. Step 1, gather awareness. The goal here is not to judge what you feel, it's to see it clearly. Notice the emotional and physical signals first. Frustration, jaw tension on the commute, anxiety and a tight chest before a meeting, burdened and the heavy sigh that shows up when you open your inbox. Notice your behaviors and perspective warning signals, snappy responses, and will this ever improve? Then identify the thought attached to these. I'm losing time with my family. I can't keep up. Awareness gives the mind a name for the chaos. It turns noise into data. Step 2, reflect. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this? What is my mind trying to protect? The questions soften defense and open curiosity. Often the real answer sounds like, I missed the rhythm that kept me connected, or I don't feel trusted. Reflection shifts you from reaction to reasoning. Your mind begins to organize the mess, and your brain starts rewiring towards safety. Step 3, write. This doesn't have to be a journal. A quick note on your phone works. Externalizing your thoughts moves them from the non-conscious into the conscious, giving you back control over your choices. Write exactly what's swirling in your head. The fear, the frustration, the sense of loss. Once it's written, it stops running you. It's lost energy. You have created psychological distance, a little space where choice can breathe. Oh, I thought that was a spider. Step 4, recheck. Now that it's on paper, look at it differently. Ask, is this thought fully true? What's another way to view it? Reconceptualizing trains the mind to see options instead of obstacles. For example, I'm losing time with my family can become, I need to design my day so that family time is protected. The mind changes its instruction and the brain shifts chemistry and structure to match that new meaning. Step 5, active reach. Choose one small action that reinforces the new meaning. It could be a clear boundary. I leave by 5:15 no matter what. Or it could be a micro ritual. 3 deep breaths before logging in. Or it could be a new communication. Let's move this update to email. Every small repeated act rewires circuits for agency. The brain learns through pattern, not perfection. Here's what this sounds like in real life. One private client told me she used to spiral every Sunday night, replaying the week ahead. We built a 90-second Neurocycle prescription she could do while brushing her teeth. Step 1, notice the spiral along with the heaviness in her stomach. Step 2, reflect. I'm dreading losing control again. Step 3, write a 1-sentence note in her phone. Step 4, recheck. What can I design to feel more in control? Step 5, active reach. Put my design into action. Here's how. Plan Monday morning music and a short walk before emails. Within 3 weeks, her Sunday nights felt lighter. Same job, same commute, different meaning. And that's the beauty of this process. You don't have to wait for external permission to feel different. You update the design from the inside out. The more you practice, the faster your brain follows the new pattern. If you are leading a team, teach this tool openly. Start meetings with a quick reset. 1 minute of awareness. What's the biggest pressure point right now? 30 seconds of reflection. What's in my control? And a single active reach. What small choice can I make today? When leaders model this culture shift from burnout to balance. I know this might sound simple, but it's deeply scientific. Each step signals the mind-brain network that it's safe to think, that awareness leads to action, and that choice is available again. And over time, that's what rewires the toxic stress response. You are teaching your brain to expect agency. So when frustration hits this week, on the freeway, in the meeting, or after hours, use this. Gather awareness, reflect, write, recheck, active reach. Mind first, then brain, then behavior. Next, I want to show you how to take this process into your real environment. How people are already using these small tools to reshape culture, reclaim their energy, and turn return to office rage into a signal for reform. We have explored what return to office rage feels like, what it does in the brain, and how to work with it. Now let's bring it into the real world, because this isn't just theory. It's about what happens when people take frustration seriously and use it to make work and home life fit together again. I hear from our private clients and people every week who describe the same rhythm. The commute dread that starts Sunday night, the early morning rush that already feels late, the moment halfway through the day when focus slips and they start calculating how much of their life is being spent just getting to and from work. It's not laziness, it's a signal that the design is off. But I have also seen what happens when that signal gets translated into small redesigns. One marketing team realized their frustration wasn't about being in the office, it was about how their time there was actually used. They scrapped daily check-ins and replaced them with short impact rounds twice a week. Another company turned mandatory in-office days into collaboration days, sessions for brainstorming, launches, and mentoring. So people stopped wasting commute hours on solo laptop work. And families started to feel the difference. When office days had purpose, evenings didn't feel stolen. People came home with energy to spare. These are small human changes, but they are exactly how return to office tension turns into reform. When you stop judging frustration and start listening to it, it becomes data. The mind reads, we can fix this, and the brain responds with focus instead of fatigue. That's the chemistry of hope. You have probably seen this where you work too. The companies that adapt best aren't the ones enforcing attendance. They are the ones redefining purpose. They ask, what problem are we trying to solve together? instead of who's in the building. They experiment, they test, they treat warning signals as intelligence. And when they do, trust builds again between leaders and teams, between work and home. Across industries, I have watched people apply this mindset in different ways. A nurse used her return to office exhaustion as proof that shift timing was breaking family rhythms and helped create a flexible swap option. A teacher reframed her burnout into advocacy and convinced her school to shorten staff meetings so teachers could use that time for creative prep. A product team redesigned their in-office schedule to protect focus hours instead of policing presence. These adjustments look small, but they are psychoneurobiology in effect. The mind says, I have choice again. The brain follows with energy and engagement. And that's what culture repair looks like. It's not rebellion, it's restoration. When people start honoring what their minds are signaling, the system naturally resets. Families stop paying the price for office inefficiency. Commutes become transitions again instead of battles. And workplaces start to feel human instead of performative. If you're feeling that tension yourself, start small. Protect the first 10 minutes of your day for deep work before the inbox avalanche. Redefine one meeting so it's worth the commute. Make your drive home a decompression ritual that helps you arrive, not collapse. Each of these tiny redesigns tells your brain, my environment matches what I value. The more alignment you create, the more energy you recover. This is how personal mind management becomes collective change. When you manage your internal climate, you influence the climate around you. You show up steadier in conversations that used to drain you. You make clarity and patience visible. That ripple effect is culture in motion. So take this as an invitation, not an instruction. If return to office rage has been simmering in you, listen to it. Ask what it's protecting, then redesign one part of your day to honor that truth. You will notice how quickly your mind relaxes once it feels seen. The emotions we have been taught to hide are often the ones holding the blueprint for healthier culture, at work and at home. This is the moment to decide which story you will join. The return to office that drives families, or the return to office. This is the moment to decide which story you will join. The return to office that drains families, or the return to office that rebuilds culture. Because that's the real return worth fighting for. Next, we'll close this episode with one final reflection, something simple and grounding to carry with you the next time the noise rises and you need to remember what matters most. Take a breath with me for a moment. We have covered a lot today: emotion, mind and brain science, culture, design. But underneath all of it sits one question. What story are you writing with the way you live your days? Return to office rage isn't just about where you work. It's about what your mind is trying to protect. It is the part of you that remembers what balance felt like and refuses to give it up quietly. That's not rebellion, that's wisdom. The same emotion that exhausts you is the one pointing towards integrity. So I want you to think about rhythm, not rules. Rules are external. They measure hours, badges, and metrics. Rhythm is internal. It measures energy, values, and meaning. The healthiest cultures align the two. When your work rhythm supports your life rhythm, stress stops being the soundtrack. You move from surviving your days to directing them. Here is a simple thought to hold on to. Your mind isn't fighting for alignment. It's trying to keep your inner world and your outer world connected. Every time you honor that signal, even in small ways, you strengthen the bridge between thought and action, between value and schedule. If you feel the weight of the commute or the fatigue of constant context switching, pause and listen to what your mind is saying underneath the noise. Maybe it's whispering, I miss choice. Maybe it's saying, I need space to think again. Or maybe it's just asking, can this make sense again? These questions aren't weaknesses, they are maintenance. They keep you human. You have more influence than you think. Each small choice, a protected morning block, a no meeting lunch, an honest boundary around family time, teaches your brain that life is designable again. And designed life feels different. It feels lighter, more deliberate, more yours. This is what mental health in modern work really looks like. It's not the absence of stress, It's the presence of structure that honors meaning. It is the ability to catch frustration early and translate it into change. It is knowing that when your mind sends a signal, you have the tools to listen and respond. So as you step into this week, ask yourself, what would alignment look like for me right now? Maybe it is asking for clarity at work. Maybe it is restoring a ritual at home. Maybe it is just giving yourself permission to redesign the way your day begins. Whatever it is, remember, you are not fighting against your workplace responsibilities. You are fighting for coherence. You are building a story where work and life stop competing and start cooperating. That is not just good for families or companies, it's good for your brain, your mental health. So before we wrap up, I want to leave you with something practical to carry beyond this episode. If today's conversation helped you see your emotions as information, if it reminded you that alignment is possible, you will find even deeper guidance in my new book, Help in a Hurry. It is a toolkit for understanding your mind under pressure and learning how to reframe stress before it becomes strain. And if you are ready to turn that insight into daily practice, join me inside the Help in a Hurry course. It is a 19-lesson experience that walks you step by step through the same mind management process I use every day to build healthier thought patterns and stronger relationships. If the book helps you read deeply, the course helps you act quickly. You can find both at helpinahurrycourse.com. Thank you for being part of this community. People who are learning to manage their minds, not just their moods. I will see you next week for our next episode.